feel like my hair is so poofy today and I don't know what to do about it. Alright, so chances are if you're watching this, you're either an American that wants to learn more, or you're a European here to see how much I get wrong. Or you're just here for the ride, in which case, glad to have you. Eurovision is a music competition that takes place in Europe every year. It started in 1956 where 7 countries competed and has only grown since then. There are several famous acts and songs that have competed in the competition, the most famous being Waterloo by ABBA, who competed in 1974 and won. Celine Dion competed for Switzerland in 1988 with a song whose name I can't pronounce because it's in French. And she also won. Also, if you're wondering why Celine Dion competed for them, given she's Canadian, I have scoured the internet and I cannot find out why she competed for Switzerland. I genuinely have no idea. And then as for the went viral on TikTok section, we have Fairy Tale by Alexander Rybak, who won in 2009, Arcade by Duncan Lawrence, who won in 2019, Ziti Boini by Maneskin, sorry if I butchered that, they won in 2021, Shum by Go A, who placed 5th in 2021, and Snap by Rosalind, who placed 20th in 2022. So how does this competition even work? Basically, every country in Europe, with a little asterisk by every country, because, some compete some years, some don't compete at all, and then, there's Australia that competes for some reason, sends an artist and an original song to compete. Some countries choose artists internally, meaning that there's some inside group or jury that seeks out the artists and songs, where other countries host national finals, where dozens of competitors come together, perform, and then the public votes on who goes to Eurovision. The competition takes place the second week of May, with the semifinals taking place on Tuesday and Thursday and the grand finale on Saturday. Typically, it takes place in the country of last year's winner. However, in situations where the winner can't host, the runner-up often hosts instead. We see this year because Ukraine won in 2022, but the European Broadcasting Union, aka the EBU, did not feel it was safe to host the competition there for obvious reasons. So instead the UK is hosting because they came second in the competition last year. So how does the actual competition work? Let's start with the semifinals. How many countries compete in each semifinal depends on how many countries are participating that year. In 2023, there are 15 countries participating in the first semifinal and 16 competing in the second. After each act has performed, voting starts, and the top 10 songs from each semifinal move on to the grand finale. There are usually about 26 countries that participate in the finale. If you're doing the math and realizing that doesn't add up, let me explain. So 20 countries move on from the semifinals. However, there are already 6 countries that have a designated place in the final and do not have to compete in the semifinals. The country that won the year before automatically gets a place in the grand final, which, fair enough, they deserve it. And then the Big Five also automatically get a place in the grand final. The Big Five consists of the UK, Germany, France, Spain, and Italy. The reason they automatically get a spot is that they, pay the most money to the EBU, so once again, all the acts perform and then voting opens. In the past, points were split. 50% came from national juries and the other 50% came from public votes, and together that would decide who would win. This was true for both semifinals and the grand finale. However, you as a member of the public could only vote if your country was competing in that semifinal, or you could vote during the grand finale if your country had competed at all that year. This year, though, it's changing. On the official Eurovision Instagram, they announced changes to voting. Going forward, there are no more jury votes in the semifinals, though they still exist in the grand finale, and anyone in the world can vote. This has led to some reactions. I saw several comments along the lines of the Americans are going to ruin Eurovision, or without the juries, they're only going to let dance and pop songs through to the finale. Obviously, it's hard to say how these new voting rules are going to impact the competition, because we haven't seen how they're actually going to impact the competition yet, but I think both of these comments take some gaps in logic. First off, no, the Americans aren't going to ruin Eurovision, they don't even know it exists. If you're lucky, maybe you'll have someone here who at least knows the Netflix movie, but I have yet to stumble across another fan of the actual competition here. The main problem I could see with the way voting works now is fans. If an artist you love is competing, you're going to put your points towards them, even if there's arguably a better song. You may not even watch the competition, you're just going to vote for them when the time comes. As far as the dance song thing, it's sad to get rid of the juries just because they've been an integral part of the competition for a long time, but I think they're doing this so that straight jury picks don't make it through to the grand finale. Switzerland last year made it due to jury votes, and as such, during the actual final, he received 0 points from the public. And there's this really sad clip of him just like crying and being just very visibly upset, because that's a hard thing to do. You made it all this way, and then you realize that, oh, the public, well, just really did not like my song. That's really sad. So I think this is sort of a way to eliminate that. Now, all of this is speculation. We don't know how these changes are actually going to impact the contest until after the actual competition, but those are just some thoughts I wanted to touch on. Moving on, let's actually talk about the songs. If you're wondering what type of songs or genres are often represented, the answer is all of them. I mean, for the most part, everything is pretty pop adjacent, but you've got your rock songs, the occasional metal piece, rap, even country every once in a while. And obviously, because Europe is a very diverse area of the world, you get a lot of songs that aren't in English. Last year, there were 11 songs in the grand finale that were in languages such as Spanish, Dutch, Lithuanian, and even Breton, which is a language I didn't even know existed until I heard that song. But it's this diversity in culture and language that makes this competition so unique and beautiful. Last year, NBC hosted the American Song Contest, where instead of every European country competing, it was every US state competing against each other. And it was not great. A lot of the songs were pretty mediocre, which I guess is expected when you're pulling from that big of a pool. But also so many of the songs were so boring and so similar. I believe there was one song that wasn't in English out of like 55, and that was it. And I'm not faulting any of the artists that competed in this competition, because honestly, good for them for taking this opportunity, and I wouldn't have known that they existed if it weren't for that competition. But it just lacked the diversity and eccentricities that make Eurovision so exciting. Also, commercials. It had a lot of commercials. In conclusion, I'm just very excited for the competition this year, and as I'm going to be posting about it a lot more leading up to the contest, I figured this would be a good way for me to introduce it to my audience and for all the Europeans to judge me. If I missed anything, which I'm almost certain I did, let me know in the comments. There's definitely more I could have touched on, but I didn't want to go too deep in this video, so if you're an American watching this and you want to know more, I recommend the Eurovision YouTube channel, which I will link down below. They've got a lot of cool videos, and at the time of recording, the majority of the songs for the 2023 competition have been posted there, so go give them a listen. And if you want to watch the actual competition, I'll leave a link below. Details for how to watch for the current year are still being determined, but in the last few years, if you wanted to watch in the US, you did have to get a Peacock subscription. However, $5 for like 8 hours of content, I'd say, is a pretty good deal, especially considering there are no commercials and you can just cancel it after 1 month. No big deal. Or getting a VPN is also an option if you want to get maybe like British commentary or something. Anyways, that's all. Take care, guys, and I'll see you in Liverpool. Not really. I'm a college student, so flying overseas is not a great financial decision right now.